make their way down. Sorry, I'll go back to slide. As we mentioned at the beginning, if you can tweet any questions you have with the hashtag Atmosphere14. We have a live Twitter feed that's going to appear on screen. I do have some questions already prepared, but we can then address some of the questions from the audience. I would now like to invite the panel to. Well, I'll just wait till we're set up. I'm ahead of myself. I'd like to invite the panel to join me on stage. We've got Finn Goulding, the CIO from Paddy Power, who we've heard from already today. We've got Jen Rubio, Global Head of Innovation from AllSaints. Aidan, Prendergast, Technology Partner from the Football Association of the UK. We've got Ciaran Cosgrave, Vice President of EMEA. I just realised we're missing someone off the slide. We've got Pete Shorney from Rentokil. Please come up and join us, Pete. And we've got Brian Morrissey, Head of Web Services for University College Dublin. Sorry about that, Pete. How could I forget you? I know, I'm sorry. You get that seat. I'll stand. So, I think we've got handhelds for the people on the panel. Let me just maneuver myself properly. So I've got some questions already prepared. So I might kick off with them, and then we can have a look at the Twitter feed and see what's coming from all you guys. So I'm actually going to start with Finn. So Finn, you know, I think it's a very topical thing. We hear all the time, especially in Ireland, about retail. And, you know, we hear of stores closing down or organisations reducing what they're doing on retail. In Paddy Power, you told us you're increasing your retail presence.
Yeah, I think the thing for us is that with retail itself, one of the things we've done in our organisation is look at getting to know our customers more. And part of that is to actually do what we call retail safaris. We actually go out as a leadership team with the executive groups, and we go to all of our shops in some form or another, and others as well. We talk to customers. We even sit and take customer calls. So I sat with our CEO the other day taking calls from a customer service perspective to understand our customers. And we're also very analytical. On the other side is we discovered our most loyal customers used retail and they use online. So we're trying to blend the two together. It's a channel. It's another channel. How do you use it? We're hearing of some organizations that will use an online experience to get people to come into the retail division. For instance, buy something online, come and collect it, and then buy something else while you're there. And for us, similar sort of thing. We're using I don't know if you've seen the Build-A-Bear thing. Well, we've got this thing which is Build-A-Bet. Come in and you'll be able to use a touchscreen experience, which you might find in online, but in a retail experience. So we're actually going to be growing. That's
brilliant. Great. Thank you for that. And Aidan.
Yes.
Football Association of the UK. You know, you've been...
England.
Of England, sorry. You've been, you know, a customer of Google's for a long time. You've seen how we've matured. Could you want to explain how you're using Google Search and Google Maps within your organisation?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've been through 3 iterations of Google Search. I was at Sky and we used it on the intranet. And then what we did at the FA a few years ago is we put it in because we had a number of different technologies across the web. And what we wanted to do is consolidate everything and get one view of search. So we had a lot of sort of marketing microsites. So it was a really easy way just to kind of consolidate everything, put everything into one search experience, which went across the whole of the website.
Brilliant.
So that was a sort of second iteration. And then recently we've taken advantage of the responsive design. Everything's going web. So we're using parametric search, and we're using the responsive search now. So it works equally well on mobile as it would on desktop or any other device.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you very much. And then Brian. I'm really interested to learn more, and I'd like the audience to understand as well. You know, UCD deployed Google Apps for Education some time ago. I'm interested to learn, firstly, around the scope of that deployment, who does it touch, and secondly, you know, what has been the reaction?
Okay. We started in, I'd say we were probably the last university in Ireland to implement Google for Students. That was back in 2011. But we were the first to introduce it for staff last year. And that was a major change, I guess. going what the last speaker was talking about. That was very significant for us. Now, there's no mail infrastructure whatsoever in UCD, and there's not an awful lot of storage infrastructure either. There's obviously no calendar or timetabling infrastructure either. So it touches everybody. That's 40,000 users. All student timetables are delivered to their Google Calendar. And also, there are, on any given day, 35,000 mobile devices within the university. All the students have smartphones, either Android or iPhones typically, and they can get their timetables on that and their mail and everything else. So I would say the current state of play is everybody uses Google Mail. Most people use Calendar, and Drive is becoming a major deal for us as well.
Fabulous. Great. Thank you very much. I'm just looking at the Twitter feed. There's a lot about food. There's a lot about, I'm going to get my house in order, so I've gone. Someone asked about my change face. I only got half a face, so I can't really do a change face. I'm going to stick with my questions for the moment, but please keep posting them. And if any of the panel see ones that you want to answer, please shout. I'm trying to look at many screens here. The challenge of multi-screen. So Jen, I'm curious to, you've got a great title and a great brand, Global Head of Innovation for AllSaints. I think the brand is such a cool brand, and I just love your leather jackets. Thanks. So what's next? What's next on the innovation journey within AllSaints?
I think for us what's really important is looking outside to see what partnerships we can play up this year. So we are working a lot with different startups. So Google has been an amazing partner, but kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, we're working with 2-3-person startups who have incredible ideas for how to change retail and are just looking for that place to implement it. So we're really trying to support that community.
Brilliant.
And in terms of other things we're focusing on, it's just how to enhance the retail experience. To kind of play up on what he said before, we don't think retail is going away. I mean, obviously we have a huge retail brick and mortar footprint, and I don't think tech is going to replace that, but there's definitely a million ways it can make it better.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Pete, I did forget you off the opening slide, so I can only apologise. But, you've been, 2008, you first deployed Google Apps, very early customer. If you were starting today, what would you do differently and how would you approach it?
Well, I think the first thing we would do is we wouldn't look at it as a technology deployment. I think back in those days, we didn't have the benefit of the work you've done on the change program, and it's really a cultural shift, and you really do need to get your customers and your colleagues on board and get this thing deployed as a service, as a tool, not as a piece of technology.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Now, what's happening on the Twitter feed? So what's been the most unexpected benefit of going Google so far? So I think, we can probably take a snapshot from maybe Brian, from Jen, and from Pete on that one. Brian, do you want to go first? Unexpected benefit.
Yeah, well, I can think of a lot of expected ones. There are one or two unexpected ones. We just recently enabled Google Plus for everybody back in February. And to be perfectly honest, we're finding out about this as we go along. But there's been great take-up in communities, and there's beginning to be great take-up in Hangouts. And there's a lot of talk about these earlier on today, and it's very interesting. We're now beginning to see how interesting this can be in an education setup. So it's getting a fair amount of traction now.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Jan, what's your view?
I don't think it was unexpected, but just the usage of Hangouts in the organization has been really fun to witness. Also, it's cut down a ton in terms of travel because we can literally do Hangouts with our vendors, and and it saves us lots of long plane rides, which has been really great. But also, to add to Google Plus and communities, it's been amazing to see people interact. I mentioned it when I was speaking earlier, but to have 100 store managers in one community just sharing what they're doing and sharing like their windows and their figures and things like that, it's really, really incredible to witness. More so outside of the head office.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jen. And Pete?
I think there's two for us. I mean, Hangouts clearly has been a big win for us, and a really big unexpected win. It's really brought on board a lot of our customers who were dissenters of the product. I think the other one Finn alluded to earlier is around getting closer to shadow IT. We've given them this tool. They're out there prototyping stuff. They're working through business processes. They're understanding how IT can actually deliver some benefits to them, and they're coming to us to help them get this delivered now rather than doing it themselves.
Yeah, fabulous. Great, thank you very much. There's been a few come in on the Twitter feed, so thank you to Finn. And there's 2 questions I've seen for you. So one is, what are your predictions for the World Cup? And 2 is, how are you connecting your retail colleagues?
Okay. On the first one, as far as the World Cup's concerned, I'm the worst person to ask, to be honest with you. I always pick the wrong things. But the form will tell you that it will be a South American team, so it's probably going to be Brazil. Outside of that, how we're connecting, well, we've just started the journey. So it's quite interesting to hear some of the conversations today. We're planning to use Google Apps. We're planning to use Hangouts and all the other tools with our retail our retail employees. And we're really excited to see how it's worked. But we are really just starting this journey. Yeah. So maybe next time I'll come back and give you the full rundown of what happened.
Yeah, scratching the surface so far. There's a lot more to explore. So Ciaran from Cloud Sherpas, you know, we've been working together for a long time. In the last 12 months, Cloud Sherpas made a conscious decision to invest in Ireland. So what has been that experience and the biggest challenges of that experience, and where do you think the Irish market sits?
Well, I think, as you said, Cloud Sherpas is a global organisation. We have offices in 18 cities, and notwithstanding my accent, made coming to Ireland a very exciting personal motivation. I think we saw a really, really good on-top market in Ireland, in particular coming towards the last quarter of 2013. As an island nation with lots of technology, experience and heritage, we felt there was a big opportunity to, as the economy got a little bit better, to come in here and take advantage. We anticipated that we could land maybe 3 or 4 customers in 2014, and already halfway through the year, we're well in excess of that. So we're revising our forecast. So we've had tremendous response. I think the idea of innovation and change and outward looking that you get from being in an island nation is very key to that. And you know, we're very, very excited and thrilled by the response today, the amount of people coming, and what's going on in the market.
Yeah, I can absolutely echo that in terms of what I've found. I worked within the UK market for a long time, but the appetite for change and to do something differently here in Ireland is great, you know. And it's a very enjoyable market to work in. We're not saying that it's easy, and there's a lot of still resistance to change. And we've got a journey. Every customer has a journey. All of these customers have been on a journey and are still on the journey. But so far, you know, it's a great territory, and I have high hopes for this time next year. We'll have a lot more of you on stage. What's coming in now? So digitally, any chance of the FA referees wearing Google Glass?
Yeah, you never know. You know, technology is moving on. You know, we were talking about you know, coaching and the different technologies with the gyros and just following. We were talking earlier about the fitness bracelets, but you can imagine that as that technology is just going at such a pace. You can absolutely see, maybe not glass as such, but along those lines. And even for coaching, if you want to get an overlay. We're looking at video management for coaching courses. So you can see an overview of the pitch, but you can also see what the coach is looking at, and that will help in terms of coach education as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And Jen, one came in there which is specifically around retail. So outside of the deployment, I think it might have gone off the screen at this stage because they're coming in fast and furiously. Outside of the deployment of Google Apps, and it would probably apply to Finn as well, how do you engage retail more with HQ? So your retail staff. So outside of deploying Google Apps, what type of activities do you do within AllSaints to engage your retail?
Well, what's been really interesting it was surprising to me when I came on board, is that until Google, the retail employees' only interaction with head office was through, we have kind of a retail ops team that acts as, you know, the funnel for information, which was really, really surprising to me, just because of the amount of information that needs to be transferred from the head office. So now, I know you're asking outside of Google, but it's really just opened up so many lines of communication, because as innovation director before Google, I couldn't just interact with someone in a retail store, which was crazy.
Yeah, and I think that probably holds true as well for you, Finn, because that's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's the reason why we're going on this journey, because you probably have all hands meetings or big town hall meetings, and none of the retail staff go to those. So you assume that everybody knows what's happening in your organization, and it's not until you do a retail safari like us, you go out and you say to people, "What about this?" and say, "What the hell is that?" And you realize that you need to find other communication channels. So that's why we're going down this route.
Okay, brilliant.
And to that point, we do a quarterly brand day where we fly out all the store managers to London or New York, and we do these big meetings, but those haven't even been live streamed or broadcasted in any way. Mm-hmm. And now we're doing, all hands meetings on Hangouts and stuff. So
brilliant. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Finn. One question for Brian. So, let's not all focus on the positive. It is a journey. There are challenges along the way. We're very cognizant of that. So, what challenges did you have within your, I suppose, journey with Google? And
well, we had some change management issues. There's no doubt about that. We had, for example, in the staff environment, we had a mail system which was behaving reasonably well, but unfortunately, it was time to renew it, and we were struggling greatly with ensuring continuity of service, particularly outside of office hours. But our main challenges in actually doing the migration or the transition over were around support and communications in the main. The sheer volume of mail, we had to transition 100 million emails, and we involved 25 people working. So it was a big support effort. We had, I saw a note on earlier on. We also had some concerns over governance and that sort of thing, data governance and security, and we expected to have some of that in the student environment, but we didn't have any. But we had a fair amount of that in the staff environment. Rather than what some IT service organisations do is they try to become experts in privacy legislation and so on. On the other hand, we decided we'd actually engage with people who knew what they were talking about. So we got UCD Legal and a Dublin firm together with the Data Protection Commissioner and various others to advise us as to how to go forward. And over the course of some weeks, we arrived at a decision that it was perfectly reasonable to continue. So that's what we did. That was, if you will, in terms of challenges, that was our biggest point challenge. Yeah. Was the concerns, either justified or unjustified, around data governance and security.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Brian. There's a question coming on the Twitter feed, Ciaran, which I'm going to throw your way. How does Google Apps integrate with old corporate legacy systems and culture? So that would be something you would face in terms of, we are the technology organization, Cloud Sherpas come in and bring it to life for our customers and make it yours. So, that's a challenge that you face. Do you want to talk through that?
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's two ways that organizations address that. One is that a lot of the corporate legacy systems and processes contain outdated process methodology and not fit for purpose for the future. So there's one challenge where we have to actually look at them and rebuild them and make them modern. And I think that's moving to a new way of working and taking the old technology and putting a web front end on it or a mobile front end on it without addressing the underlying process cannot always be the right solution. On the other side, the fact that everything is browser-based and is very mobile and web-friendly means that being able to integrate into back-office systems and be able to pull that data out, we can free up an awful lot of valuable data that exists in an organization. One example of that is a large retailer that we're working with right now, where a lot of their corporate weekly trading figures, it's typically very difficult to export that information, make it available. It's done in very old-style PDFs information. You have to be sitting at your desk. A lot of that information is valuable to frontline store workers, and now we're serving that up on tablet devices in a secure manner to the right people. So I think it's a mixture. It's looking at, are the embedded processes in the legacy systems fit for purpose for today? Yeah. And if they are, can we make them more mobile friendly so we can get more visibility out to the people at the front line?
Brilliant, thank you. So Pete, we've got lots of people in the room, hopefully future customers. What would your advice be to them?
Well, obviously go Google. I think make brave decisions and don't look at this through traditional eyes. This is not another vendor's product. This is very much a consumer-led revolution. It's very much going to be driven by your users, and just give them the freedom to go and use this stuff and actually find use cases for it. The only other two bits of advice I would give, one I guess is slightly geeky and technical, which is the one I always chant, which is try and keep it to one domain, guys. It makes life a lot easier. You've got those 100, we had I think 500 legacy email domains. Please don't try and integrate that. And the other one is just think about some governance structure. I think there was a question there about data retention and managing your files. Just think about how you educate your users in the use of that system and how you want them to consume those services. And this is more around policy, data retention policy, how they're going to share documents. But once you've done that, just let them unwrite, let them go with it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Pete. So there's lots of things coming in. I love Finn's post. He's just told you are the most attractive audience he's ever seen. Woohoo to that. Finn, we're running out of time. I'm going to do one more question to Finn, and then we're going to take one more question from the Twitter feed. But we've heard how Paddy Power motivates and retains technical staff. How does Paddy Power find these people in the highly competitive Dublin marketplace?
That's a great question. In our organisation, we have full-time recruiters, which is a little bit unusual. I think many of you have been headhunted or approached by recruitment companies, and I think sometimes some of them look at you like you're just commission. We have recruiters in our organisation which are pretty technical, and what they do is they become part of our culture. They know the type of people we're looking for. In fact, one guy has hired over 100 of my team, so he knows them sometimes even better than me. And tomorrow he's going to be the compere in our Hack Day competition, and he's working in HR, but he's a technical HR person. And I think that's really important. I'd like to see more like internal recruitment type people rather than independent organisations for the day-to-day types of roles that we're looking for, and certainly in our organisation.
Brilliant, thank you. So the one final question I'm going to take, it's to you, Pete. It's from the Twitter feed. And Fly Crew Stay want to know, should he boil or fry his mealworms?
Fry's probably best.
No, okay. Fried always takes best and boiled, and no matter what. Again, thank you very much to the panel. Thank you very much for your time.